G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. Past me has left me with quite a few tasks left to do on this building, so I should probably get cracking on them. And that feels really creepy walking over that. There's just there's no floor in the scaffolding version of this door. Anyway, what should be step one? I've got to build the garage for the liftsy. I've got to build the little viewing area that I wanted to put out this side. Probably should connect up that cargo too. And I need to build a skin over this whole building. And the skin's possibly going to be last? Question mark? I really don't know. This is where I'm struggling. Maybe the smart thing to do then would be to start with the little liftsy garage, since it would be nice to charge it up. So with the liftsy, I've got the choice of using these hinges at the back to try and do some sort of charging on it. That was the original plan, that's why they were there. But I'm wondering if there's a better spot for me to attach to, say the side of this little battery, that might be a bit easier to attach to in order to get the charging arm to connect. Because it doesn't need cargo, all I need to do is stick a hinge on the wall and then have some manipulable thing that can reach down. In fact, what I could do is put like a helm here, which is out of the way, and have it so that it's connecting a piston and rotor keybind scripted crane apparatus that I can then get into the right spot. I could even put the helm inside here so that it's in a pressurized space. I kind of look out. I think that's going to be a good start. So let's start with building the arm, and I'll manually set it up, and then I'll set up the script on it in order to get it to work properly. Oh, another thing, just while I'm remembering, very, very common and very, very good suggestion for my issue with falling in the connector holes, put something over the top. Things like catwalk, grating, windows, and the like, you can usually still get a connector lock with them in place. The downside is, I think for the most part, unless you leave them in build state, you can't actually access the cargo through it. But if I do this, at least as a temporary measure to protect me from my repeated falling in the holes, I can still connect. I can still connect, and I can still get cargo out of here. Now we'll start with... I've normally thought through this stuff a bit more, but I didn't really think this one through. Start with a hinge and a few bits for that, and we'll see what it ends up looking like it's going to need, because I'm really not sure what this connection might need. So, hinge. We start it up on the wall. I think that'll look best. Large hinge up on the wall, and then add a small head. So with this fueling arm, I'm thinking piston, hinge, piston, rotor. Because a rotor part will give me a bit more play left and right, as in this way. And it just in general gives me a bit more play to be able to still connect onto the rotor part that we've mounted onto the liftsy. Ideally, to make something like this work really quickly, I want to keep the control system simple for it. But in order to do that, I kind of have to remove one axis, which is this axis. So what I'm going to try and do is figure out a way to get the liftsy to move into here and stop on exactly the right spot every time. I'm not sure exactly how I'll do that at this point. It might involve just putting even railing for me to bump up against. That may be enough. In fact, I should probably move it in here now so that I can figure out where that might be. We're going to get rid of this tail because I don't need the tail anymore. Now, I know this is dead, but it does have that one tiny little battery left, which was intended as the safety net for just this situation. I just realized if I didn't bring this in now, what I was probably going to end up doing is putting the thing on the wrong spot, as in on a spot that I couldn't actually get the liftsy to. I'm thinking railing is the simplest solution here for giving myself a bumper to push against. Maybe I'll just line up the wheels with a specific row. Put the wheels directly over that. Does look like I should be able to do that pretty well. My worry about the that I just realized about this railing is that if I'm right on top of it, as I lock on, I could damage the liftsy and or the base. This is a block too far this way. Let's get rid of it. Oh. Oh. Huh. Just had a bit of an idea. So what I was imagining was this attaching onto the side, but just watching this hanging with gravity, keeping it perfectly vertical, makes me think that maybe I'd be better off just having something nested that pushes out, and then I could use the hinge, this initial hinge, just to lower it down, and that way I'd be connecting away from the wheels. Huh. So if I got rid of that and put, say, something like this on here, and then put the rotor part above it, that might be even better. And the other advantage of that is then it's not something that's going to get in the way of me walking. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to change this up. Hopefully my theory about it being a bit easier to control is correct. That is actually the perfect length. I don't need to rebuild any of it. This works as it is. Awesome. Like, it's got a little bit of leeway that... Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be parking any further any further away from it, because that's going to be right up against the door there. Ah. Nice. I'm not going to complain about that. That's quite handy. I've got some unnecessary articulation on this, but, you know, then all I should need to do is pop a camera on the side of a little piston here, and I should be able to set up my controls. Let's just see if this attaches without issue. Yep. Cool. Some small hiccups in the build process here, but mostly mental ones. Now I've just got to make this thing look half decent, which may be trickier than it sounds. There's only so much you can do with a piston that's attached to a 3x3 base of a large hinge. I think that'll work for now. I'll eventually get that top bit, but I'll do that when I'm building more of the other stuff. But I think that adds enough decorative stuff for the transition for now. I don't need the lifts in a rush, so I'm not going to set its batteries to recharge at this state. This point, I meant. Not sure about the crimson color I just painted this refueling charging arm. I might switch it out to the red, but I'm just going to leave it for a little while, see if it grows on me, or see if I'm just like, nah, this isn't a good color. But I'm sticking with the varied yellow on my cargo line. It is a slightly different yellow to the one I used in the main bit of the base. I've again taken advantage of the extra scratchy corrugated and battered to try and give it that bit of extra variation to it. Now I've just got to think about what I'm going to do to make this not a box, because this is very much a box, a bit broken up by the cargo lines. That helps, but it's still a box. I need to change that. What can I do? I can't take up too much space because I need the space for the lifty. And I've put an extra door over here, which might make things a bit more difficult. My idea behind this door is to put a little room back here for the script, the programmable block, in order to run this arm a lot more efficiently. And also some of the timer blocks for running the equipment inside the printer. Figured it's as good a use as any for this this space in here that I don't know what to do with. What if I use the beam blocks like this? And then for the section up the top, replace that conveyor with the armored conveyor things, because that should allow me to then do a similar thing on this wall over here without it looking too weird. That kind of breaks up the space pretty well. I was planning on putting a vent on that conveyor. I wasn't originally thinking this space would be pressurized, but the reason I'm mentioning the vent there is I kind of... with the T-piece I could make this work. I've kind of not got another spot to put a vent. But what I was just realized is I could put a T-piece in place of one of these horizontal ones, or even this one here, and have it stick the vent on top. That could work. Yeah. 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 Now I'm wishing I hadn't gotten rid of my little landing that allowed me to get up there. Because the liftsy can't really get around in here. I can sort of use it for some bits, but a lot of bits, it's too big for me to get into the spots I need to get into. Oh, why did I do this again? That's the second time. Ugh. That's the second time I've cut off the connection. Oh, wait, is that cut off? Yeah, that is cut off. I've cut off the connection from this cargo container to the rest of the base. Like, nothing. Which means I have to go all the way up to the roof. Which was the point in having that cargo container there in the first place. Ah. Hopefully the fact that the conveyor tube changes color doesn't look too wonky, but I think it's better that the exterior armor is the right color for this transition. I think that makes more impact than having the interior tube the correct color. But that works actually really nicely. I think that works fairly well. Yeah, not bad. I mean, as mentioned, the color of the tube being different isn't ideal, but none of this is ideal. This I still think looks better than not having anything at all, and having some shape to these walls I think makes this room feel a lot better. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the roof yet though. Normally what I'd do in a situation like this is something pretty straightforward and just, you know, grab, say, 2x1, where is it, base, put that there, use the half height pieces across the way and then do the same on that side. Then it gives us a nice little bracing across the roof. I may still do that. I'm just trying to think whether I've got another alternative or whether just putting a strip of lights down the middle will be enough to make the roof feel different. Oh, that helps. By making these grey, although that's probably a bit darker grey than I wanted originally, but by making them grey, the lack of colour on the pipe actually works in my, works a lot better, I think, because I've got the slightly grey tinted yellow rather than having the white, which really stood out. Yeah, now let's get some lights on the roof. That works. Let's grab some decoration because I really want to make these rooms finished as I go along. I'll put some freight containers, that'll help. Plus scattering these around the place and putting food, water, oxygen bottles, etc. in them tends to make my life a little bit safer. Yes, we will go the cheap storage shelf because I don't want to have to put all the materials into the expensive ones. Some of them I can't even build. Cool. How's that look? Yeah. I would like to do something with that back wall. It's still feeling pretty bland. One of the things I guess could help with it is if I go back to my white paint and how would it look if I do this? Just to break it up with that line. It's a bit different. It's not something I'd normally do. I don't think it quite works how I hoped it would. Can't do too much of the roof, unfortunately, because it's visible outside, but I guess what I could also add to the roof in spots, if I think it'll make it look more interesting, is some plate. So it'll add some interest without totally not being such a repetition of things I've done before. I just always look at these big, open, flat spaces and go, something needs to be done with that. It's
energy low.
It's just a bit boring. Sometimes a big open space can be nice, but particularly with using this rust texture as my primary texture, it really highlights the advantage of keeping things interesting with extra depth and stuff like that, because the rust texture is visibly repetitive. So obviously I didn't leave enough room on the in the ceiling and enough space in here to do lighting and do lots of plate. But I think little bits of joinery like this, like continuing this line up to terminate somewhere that isn't the corner of the room, I think that's why I am drawn to ideas like this. Because I feel like it ends them in a more satisfying way. Ending something in a 90-degree corner in a game where lots of things end that way just doesn't give that same aesthetic appeal as trying to continue a line through to somewhere that, I I don't want to use the term natural, but that's kind of the organic. It still doesn't fit, but you know, hopefully that conveys the idea of what I'm trying to get across. I talked about this stuff a lot way back when I made the butterball in Survival Maybe. Continuing lines through, but I don't think I fully understood what I was trying to talk about at the time. But it was the fact that those 90-degree corners just don't give the same satisfaction as something that terminates differently. And it's not because the 90-degree thing is inherently bad, it's because it's just everywhere. It's everywhere in Space Engineers, and it's unavoidable. So it's unavoidable to have some of them. So getting rid of the few that you can helps. I think that makes sense. Hopefully it makes some sense to someone. Having this building kind of finished, I think is going to make the next time I publish this on the workshop a much more interesting exploration scenario, so that because there'll be a lot more going on. My thought for the viewing window that's going to be looking out over the valley is for it to be on this wall, and I want to make sure that I've got enough room ceiling-wise and floor-wise to put it in, so I've put a couple of rows of blocks down so far. But then what I'm going to do is use... where are they? These. The bridge windows. And I probably will need this block on my hotbar, which I don't have yet. I've worked around this sort of shape before, so I've got a bit of familiarity with what I'm going to need to use to get this to place. And it'll be starting with that, and one of these two bow-on slopes. Slope tips. So that's my beginning. Then, to bring this down here, like so. And I really hope this is airtight. I haven't checked whether this will be airtight. It'll be really disappointing if it's not. This will come down to there, like so. So then we start having this kind of bridge style thing going on here. That coming across to there. Then I'm going to invert this and have a row around the bottom, so that'll be this kind of, you'll see at the end what it looks like. And of course I don't have any more girders. So flipped around on the opposite side, we'll have these ones. I'm almost tempted, now that I'm looking at this, to make it even bigger and put some regular windows in the middle, because I could put quite easily a couple of extra slopes in here like that. No, I think it'll be too grand then. It won't feel like it's gonna feel grand in here, I think. But I think if I put the regular windows in the middle, it won't have enough of that hint of the industrial that these bridge windows get, which is kind of, in this instance, I think desirable. I definitely want to keep in mind this option for the future, because it's a nice way to transition between armor and glass without it just being an instant transition from one to the other. It'll certainly break up that large wall and give it sort of something to pay attention to in the middle of it. I really hope I have put that in the middle. Yes, I did. Just for a second. Moment of self-doubt there where I wasn't quite remember whether I'd put it in the right spot. As you may have noticed, some of these builds recently have taken a long time to come to fruition. And it was kind of necessary. I think I'd struggled with my motivation for building stuff because everything I had to build in Survival Impossible was so big. And coming along and adding in a welding ship so that I can place blocks more easily, that's helped a lot. But I still really needed to get this build finished so I can get back to the stuff that's a little bit more contained, because the next steps are building drones and attacking things and less of the gargantuan projects that need to be that big but don't have too many of the little intricacies that I quite like to do in these big builds, or in my builds full stop. They're just kind of monolithic in proportions. They're just big slabs of metal. I'll be glad to get back to the little stuff like think one of the things I need to do soon is improve my welder for the canaries. Because if I'm going to be using them to try and clear my path to fly hydrogen safely back and forth between the ice lake and here, I need to be able to print off more canaries. I need more of them. So, better printer is a very good step toward that. I do have some ideas of how I'm going to break up this massive slab of metal a bit more. It'll be similar to the other ends and sides of all these buildings with the half slabs running as lines up the wall. Okay, let's just weld this thing. Yeesh, so much there. So there's a block that I misplaced, and trying to get up there to grind it seems like, oh, there are a couple blocks, like a bit of extra work that I don't need to do. So this is my solution. And I think it's a fairly good one. So I just realized that I had not placed this end symmetrically to the other. And I have an idea of a way to place that. No, let me place that block. I have an idea of how to do this and get rid of the bits I need without having to get this platform or something. And that method is by building that path that you just saw me build, walking up the top, grinding off the bits that I need to grind off, and then shooting or grinding off those bits that I just placed. It's a fair walk to get up to the top, but I have built an internal stair already, which is quite windy, but works. I haven't obviously finished the interior space in here yet. I let myself get sidetracked by building the outside while it was daylight. I can build all this interior stuff when it's nightfall. And all my airlocks in the assumption that I will be able to make this airtight. But check this out. This is the roof. Look at the view. Feels weird looking down on my production building, because it's been the tallest thing around for so long. This is my little temporary walkway, because I went one block not far enough with these.
Inventory full.
Turns out my inventory's full. Of course it is.
Inventory full.
Okay, that's actually all I needed to do. Do I dare? No, I don't. I'm just going to shoot these off. I don't dare. I don't dare grinding those while I'm standing on them. Nope, 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 nope. Nope, 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 nope. That is asking for a lot of trouble if I do that. I decided to make all these interior spaces quite cramped and use the passageways for them. Largely because I just wanted to have it feel a bit different. Use this window to break up this wall a bit. I'm probably going to add some other windows around the place just to break up the exterior surface some more. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them at this stage, but I'm sure I'll figure things out as I go along. And yes, I did just build a maze in my own base that I will probably get lost in at some point. As I was saying, I've added a few extra bits to the outside here. And when I first looked at it, I was like, yeah, I need some angular bits. Now when I stare at this, I think I made an evil villain's lair again. Much like the volcano thing I made in Survival Maybe. I think I've gone evil with the style. Which I guess makes a lot of sense given the brutalist kind of approach to the architecture around here. And yes, those are real frame drops you're seeing. I might be pushing things a bit in this save now. With how much I've got going on.
Inventory full.
My inventory's full. Let's go dump that off in, ta-da, the new carport with cars. I have moved the Goofy. I've moved the single use, as it turned out, Remora launch truck. And they're parked and connected up to the base, so they actually shouldn't go dead now. Which is nice. I've also spent a bunch of time cleaning up more things around here. There are no more ore drop pods absolutely 0 because I needed a lot for all this iron around here. I think I've got that in a time-lapse somewhere, but I was unable to find the recording that I did while I built a lot of this stuff. So I'm just going to show you guys around and give you a chance to see what this has ended up looking like, because this is one heck of a monolithic thing. This thing is huge. Like, here we go, third person perspective. We stand at the base and then we zoom out. Yeah. You're big. You're real big. But it kind of works. I've also, because of this carport, been able to add a whole bunch of solar panels, which was needed because we were running low on power and all that side of things, so that was important.
Energy critical.
Speaking of power, my personal power is low. And on top of this, we've got a few more turrets. I probably need to do a different paint color on the beams, because the beams, they end up with quite a repetitive rust texture. And so I'll potentially change that in the future, but I think for now it's okay. Head inside and head up to that viewing area. So we can either head in through garage door to the left. See, oops, that was pressurized. That was pressurized. We've got the hangar in here, which is pressurizing. Then we've got an airlock through to this part, which is also pressurized, but then this part is not. Because this part, I really should build another door on. That should be airlocked. This part's that kind of hollow space that I'll probably end up putting a few hydrogen tanks, probably put some cargo containers in here, just because I really don't know what else I can put in here. I really hope I can jump up that high. Good. So I think I put away all my steel plate. Then we go up. You guys have seen a bit of this already, but not my little helm area. Controlling the crane that attaches on there. And up the maze of stairs. Out to the deck. So we can get out here now. And I've moved the Searchy up here. It's actually locked down. I've moved one of the canaries up here. I'm thinking I'll put a second canary over here so that I've got two that are fairly easy to access. Then we go along to here, and I think this just goes out to... Yep. This goes out to a doom hole. Don't fall down there. That's bad. That's a bit of a safety hazard. And we go up to... What I kind of tried to design is a little bit of a control room area, because we can see out to the canary, we can see out to the Searchy out there. So I felt like maybe making a little bit of a control station in here made a bit of sense. So there's a bit of a something else to break up all these corridors so they weren't just same the whole way. Probably this is also all lit. I don't need to have my headlights on. We can walk out here and we've got more timer blocks, more programmable blocks. A custom turret controller just for aesthetics. There was no other real reason for that. The reason I wanted to add all these timer blocks is I'm going to try, and that's what I'm doing next, I'm going to try and automate the production of the Fort's Capac. But here is the best looking bit, I reckon. This is the real control room. This is where we can look over the Fort's Capac being printed. And I'm going to potentially hope I'll be able to make it so that these buttons actually control it. And then you can see, fitting in with the whole evil, evil overlord thing, that view. That view with the gas giant, its rings, and yeah. I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. That was exactly what I was looking for. I was wanting this. And that's why I put the chair there with the desk, the way I've got it. So that when you're sitting here, anyone who comes up to you is going to be imposed. Like, you're going to... going to be imposed. No. He's going to be... words. Better way of phrasing this. It would be imposing to walk up to someone and try and talk to them while that's the backdrop. And then we through here have another airlock area, which goes out onto our carport with all our solar panels. I still need to add some wind turbines to the roof up the very top, which we can also get up to, because I'd like to try and get a bit more power and just try and see if that's enough to get me by until I can regularly deliver hydrogen here for the hydrogen engines to run. Where does this one go? Oh, this is another server room. That's right. I built a few server rooms and built a few vents just because I really like using these as vents now. The windows, these old school windows, they're just such a nice way to connect two otherwise separate volumes of gas so that you only have to pressurize one of them. And they look cool when you use them like that, because they look like a real vent. Here we go, ladder. And turret. Turret. Uh-oh. Please let me get on the roof. On the roof. Yeah. Look at it. Maybe one old Fort Capac over there. Alrighty, well, I think it's time to figure out what steps are involved in printing off a Fort Capac so that I can set them up with timers and have a single button press that prints these things off. Actually, I probably don't want a single button press, because what if I don't have enough resources? No, that's not going to be a void. Yeah, I'm just going to have to make sure I have enough before I start the process. Oh. So I think the easiest way for me to attempt to build, like to set up the timers and stuff, is going to be when I'm actually on the floor looking at the Fort's Capac being printed.
Energy critical.
I haven't built a doorway to get in there, and I can't remember what layer I'm at and what layer I should be at to be able to do that. Because I want to build a corridor that's accessible from in here. Alright, let's get rid of this bit, because I think... Yeah, cool. Alright. I thought that was where I needed to go. Cut through this. Yeah, I got it right. So yeah, now that I'm in here, and you can see what I've done inside here, which I think looks pretty awesome. I also feel like this room needs spotlights. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do that. Actually, no, I kind of hoped that the windows above would allow shafts of light in. I'm not sure if that actually happens at any point during the day, but that was kind of the dream. So now that I'm in here, I can build a control panel in here and start setting this up with timers and things. So I have a duplicate of the one that will be up at the commander's desk. I don't think where to put this button panel that's convenient for me to be able to see what's going on, but not in a dangerous location. Oh, I should have put a helm down, not this. Yeah, this is going to be better. This is definitely better. Okie dokie. I've attempted to record this section a few times because this required a lot more thought and breaking down and a bit more mathematics than I'd anticipated when I first was doing it. I was going to do this a lazy way and just have them move really, 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 really slowly. But what I'd like to do is have the pistons move, stop, have a bit welded. Move, stop, have a bit welded. Move, stop, have a bit welded. The advantage of doing it that way is that the reset timer can move things a bit more quickly, because if I'm going to have these move so slowly that the welders can weld everything with constant movement, it has to move very, very slowly, which means the reset time is also really, really slow. I'm not really sure why I care so much about the reset, considering how much effort it's going to take to move the Fort Capac out. I'll have plenty of time while I'm moving it out for the thing to reset, but I thought this would be a nice situation for me to test this on. So, what I needed to do was look at the ratio of distance that each of these pistons is going to move, because this top one moves from 0 meters to 10. These bottom two each move from 0 to 6.5. Before, what they actually did was 0 to 10 and 0 to 3, but I've made them match so that they move together, which means I can treat them as a group. So what I had to do was work out what ratio of speed I needed between these pistons so that over 3 seconds, the combined speed of the top one and the bottom two would move 2.5 meters in 3 seconds. And I chose 3 seconds because I felt like that was a reasonable sort of time frame. So in theory, that's what I've done. If I press start, and if we click trigger now, this should work. And it should move 2.5 meters each time. There'll be a 10-second pause while it welds. Then it'll move on to the next bit. That looks pretty good. As long as that gap isn't growing. Because that gap's kind of ideal. Spot on. I think I finally got it. I'm not going to claim that I got this right first time. This took numerous times of me going through this and then going, nope, that was wrong. Scrap that recording, do it again. Because I didn't want you guys to have to suffer through me struggling with it over and over and over. Looks pretty good. Feeling pretty good about this. There's a little bit of extra movement, but that's because we've got 23 meters. I divided it by 23 instead of 22.5. So over the course of the expansion and contraction of these pistons, we will gain 50 centimeters, which sounds like a lot, but really at the scale we're working at, it isn't. It doesn't matter. So that gets all the way out to there. And now, with this process, we reach another point where we have to have manual override. So we need a secondary interaction here. Oh, that was a little bit more of them to go. Oh, that'll probably get the wind turbine on top, won't it? Yeah. So what I need to do for this next phase, which is get this hinge flipped over and then have the piston start to rise, we're going to use a couple of timers for that. Alright, so this one needs to turn off the welders. It also needs to stop the timers that were resetting themselves. So we want stop and we want stop. Because I don't want them to continually turn on and off the pistons. I want them just to stop, and that'll stop. No matter which phase it's at, whether it's running through the process 1 or process 2, this will stop them from continuing their things. Then we will reverse this hinge. We will start another timer, which I haven't named yet. This second timer, once it's activated, will extend this piston. Timer block 2, this one, let's give it 4 seconds. So, if I trigger this now, that will start flipping over. That should start the next one and extend that piston, which goes up nice and slowly and then locks onto the Fort Capac. Once I grind it off, it'll continue to push and it'll lift the Fort Capac up high enough that I can grab it with the panini and get it out of here. We're so close. So close to this working. So I think what I'll do now is I'm actually going to print one of these off, because then once it's printed, I can have a look at where I need to get my scaffolding up on this wall so that I can get inside and load it up with ammo manually, because as you guys might recall, that was the plan. I just need to know where it's going to be. Actually, I can do that. I can do that with the projection, which means we can make sure that we'll actually be able to get past it and make it work. Oh, I should also look at whether there's a nice spot to put a cargo container, because I really do need some cargo access in here. If I'm going to be loading up the ammunition manually, I'd much rather be able to pick up the ammunition in here. So we need to get up to probably that level, don't we? Even though they're inconvenient a lot of the time, I'd really like to be able to use the half stairs. With open catwalks up here, I could do half there and then... Oh no! I wanted to have little landings. Why? I'm not winning with this right now. Go half stair, landing, half stair, landing, half stair. Yeah, okay. Works on this side. That part works nicely. We can walk up here, walk out here, and then up these stairs. I think this should work. This should be able to get past here, but I'm a bit worried that it won't. And cargo container. speed things up. It also gives a reason for having this catwalk up here, which was really just to get across, but I also thought it might be nice to have another reason to have it here. Why did I want to do the half ones? Because I thought it'd look nice. No other reason. I have no real justification for this, I just thought it'd look more interesting. Alright, here goes. I hope this works. I really hope this works. Oh. And start. Oh, poop! Dang it. Alrighty. Round 2. This time with the welders set to turn on. So here goes everything. 3, 2, 1, start. Looking good. Oh no, it's too slow. It's too fast. Didn't quite get that panel. I wonder what else it's missed. It was close to getting it though. It's going to make the rest of this process a lot slower having to wait that long. And I don't think there's anything I can do about that at this stage without using programmable blocks. Man, it'd be so nice if we had ways to look at a projector and say how many blocks have been built. And if this many blocks have been built, then resume the piston movement. Like, imagine how well that would function. I think we've just run into the catwalk. So let's go fix that. Now we should have one more block and then we'll get the turbine. There we go. 1 Fort Capac printed with minimal problems on my end. Nope.
Health low.
Oh, that was close. Could get some health back. Alright, what can we do around this catwalk so I can get across there with it being relatively safe, but not running into the thing? If I put a piston directly underneath and I get rid of some of this, I could possibly make it so there's a little bit of an extension that just goes out just far enough that I can't fall in the gap, but not so far that it gets in the way. What I'm thinking is, if I can get something small grid usable around here, I could possibly... Can I jump up there? Yeah. I could possibly have a little thing that hinges down. Rather than something that just pushes out, have something that hinges down and that's just a button that I can press on the catwalk up there. Because if I make it all small grid, that should work. That means getting rid of that and probably this beam block. And replacing some of this with a hinge. Ow! Ow! Let me in. I got in before. Let me in. Ow. Look, that's not the button I wanted to press at all. Fine, we'll do that. That's very wasteful, but whatever. We now have a hole to put a hinge in entirely so I can get small grid. Those in there, because I'm going to try and cover this up entirely if I can. This hinge, let's turn the hinge lock on. Let's turn the lower limit down up to 0. The upper limit down to 0. So that everything is working to try and make this hinge not move. Including maximum braking torque and power off. Because it doesn't need to be using up power. Alright. Time for one of those rare moments of jetpack shenaniganry. There we go. Why did that not use up any of my jetpack? It's weird. Oh, possibly because I just spun in place rather than actually because I'm on a perfectly... yes, it is. Turn on your jetpack on a perfectly level surface and just spin around without actually trying to move. And it doesn't use up any fuel at all. It's only if I try and push myself using it that it'll use up fuel. Makes perfect sense. There's a piece missing from that corner. I bet someone would have noticed that. Let's put in a cross. No longer a piece missing from the corner. I'm sure that would have bugged someone. Probably me once someone told me that it was missing. I was half thinking I could do something that looks a little bit like a girder here. I probably could have tried harder to make it look like it, but I think if the shape is roughly right, it should look okay. Especially if I do some bits of it intentionally different. I'm just trying to fill in as much of this so that it does look less obvious that there's a hinge in behind here. Oh yeah, it looks okay at a distance. Obviously doesn't look like a girder block, but I figure if it gives us the idea of something that's welded off one of them, that is just fine. Okay, so now this is going to be the new support for our catwalk. I think it should only go out to here. Ooh. Ooh. Idea. Big brain time. Okay, let's get rid of this. Get rid of these two. Get rid of that. Bye. And. Ha ha ha. I want that one. No, that one. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that there. And we're going to swing from here. So this kind of lines up pretty much with the wall. And then goes out to the right length for that. So the way I'm going to do that is with a pair of little hinges. I'm adding so much unnecessary machinery here. So my thinking is, what I can do from here is add a little bracing or something, maybe that. A couple of these on here, then I can come around the other side from the top and I can put a little backboard, and that's the button that you press to raise everything up. Yeah, that button will raise these two hinges. That's my plan. I think it should work quite well. Why do this with two hinges? There's no good reason. In fact, I might actually turn this one off and just have a single hinge that actually operates it, and the second one's there just for looks. We need to use our little barred windows, which I need to get a bunch of components for. So that's the easy part. The hard part is deciding how or if I'm going to put railings on this bridge. Alrighty. Let's head up the top and see how this feels on the other side. Oh yeah? And I don't fall through the gap? It's not going to line up, and that's fine. I'm not fussed that these don't perfectly align with one another. I know with small grid I could have pushed this across, or I could have made this more narrow so that it only allowed you to go there, but I think because most of the time there's not going to be a fort capac here, I think it'd look better without it. So what I was thinking now...
Your health is low.
Okay, so I have an idea that I think will end up making this bridge really cool. One of the things that I struggle with building these sorts of bridges in small grid, the deck is easy, because the deck you just use the barred windows, you use a few half blocks, and blammo, you've got a decent looking deck. But what you don't have is decent looking railings. Now we know that outside I use the small grid neons unpowered to be the railing, but the whole bridge section was detached for that, which isn't going to work here because I need these hinges to be attached and I need them to be actually powered. What I could do is build the whole bridge attached to a landing gear that's on the end of this hinge part, but because I've built this whole thing already, what I'm going to do instead is take out these sections and put in full, put in the sloped bases like that. And on each of these, I'm going to attach a landing gear, one of the mag logs. But I'm going to do it so that it's a totally separate grid and so that they're all one piece. Now to do that, what I have to do first is extend out from somewhere. Will do. Far enough that I can place down a piston. Place our piston. Then I need my landing gear. Mag plate, I should say. The one mag plate. So that's going to attach onto this bit. Which might look a little funny, but it's kind of the best I can do. Then I'm going to link that one to all of the other ones with some half plates. Where are they? Where's the flat one? Come on, mouse wheel, stop being terrible. So we go one of them, Then we go another mag plate to attach to that full piece. We go back and do another 3 of these. Another mag plate to attach to the next one. The reason I'm doing all these mag plates is not because you need more than one. You can easily 100% do this with just one. I think this will look better if we use multiple, because then it looks like it's there. That's how the railings. Then it kind of. It looks like the railings are supported in more than one spot. Build up these magnetic plates and build up this piston. Should be able to extend that piston and attach all of those mag plates to that thing. And then we have an unpowered grid that's going to move with the bridge. That unpowered grid can have our neons on it, and they'll be off, so they'll be dull, and I'll be happy. And I reckon over the coming months, I am going to come up with more and more ways to use this and to do this in weird ways. So, to get this to look really neat, what we need to do is actually turn off auto lock on all of these. And we need to extend this to just the right amount. If you push it too far, everything will go a bit wonky. But if we get just right, these will sit really, really neatly. Oh no! I pressed the wrong button. I thought I had it right too. And now I'm running low on O2. Oh, see, there goes a bit of wonky. A bit of wonky? No, just a bit wonky. No, stupid mouse wheel! Stop being so bad. There we go. So, in contact, I can now lock all of these down. Which I will do when I get back with some more oxygen. Then we grind away our piston. And our little scaffold. Very carefully make sure we're looking at the top piston part. Grind that off. And now I can climb up the top and make our railing. And then do the same on the other side. Need to make sure that I'm building off the bit on the side, not... Yeah, there we go. So I was going to place one on each of the landing gear. I have no idea how stable this is going to be in between saves and reloads and things. Ooh, she's a bit jittery. I think the build states are just a bit bigger than the regular bits, so if we weld these up, hopefully that jitteriness will stop. I really hope this works. And that it doesn't all just explode on me, because it doesn't seem particularly happy with the situation. There might be a point where you have to accept that those landing gear need to be a bit further away, but it does seem to settle down once I weld up the block, so it's probably just the collision size of the build states being quite large. Now I can go and grab the red paint that I want for these. We can pop it on.
Energy
you can see how much better that railing is than what it would have been if I'd done it with bright neons or with black, because you can get zero emissive neons if you use black, but I find that when I'm making railings I really want to use not black. For making cables, black's great, but for making railings, black doesn't quite work. There we go. One side done. I reckon it even looks good having the back end of those mag plates showing out. It's kind of like they're real attachment points, because they really are the attachment points. I quite like that. Alright, time to do it on this side. Alrighty. It jiggles a bit. It's not super happy, but it does work. Proper railing. Now just got to tie that button to this and we'll be good to grind off all this support. I think what you could probably do if you really wanted to make sure that it didn't jiggle at all is just give it a little bit of a lift so that these neon blocks aren't colliding with the bridge blocks. But overall, I am really happy with this effect. I'm probably going to be, well, at least whenever I have the time for it, using this approach a lot more. Okay, here we go. Bridge goes down. Bridge goes up. It works. It looks so good. I'm so happy. Look at that tucked away. Look at that thing. Ah. Sorry. I'm getting carried away. I'm very happy. I also need to get more of the breathing juice. And the electrical juice. Cool. I can now arm these things. Which means I should probably go get some ammunition and put it in it. Let's get the lock in place. It's in place. All right, we are locked. Which means I can now release this thing once I put the ammunition in. Blam. Bridge goes up. Oh, I love bridges like this. They're so much fun. Hello, Capac. And it goes in. Bridge goes down. I didn't close the door. Close the door. Do it again. Bridge goes down. Then we release. Should be safe on that lock. For us to climb up here and find that out. There we go. I hope that doesn't hit the roof. Looks good. Looks so good! Can't remember how I was going to unlock that. So that I can safely grab it with the panini. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, that's the printer ready to go. I have a Fort Capac ready to deliver. If I can deliver it, I can make some more. But I need magnesium because I'm kind of low on that. I've printed off one Fort Capac and now I can print off a whole bunch more, which means it's time to talk about what's coming. What is in store for Survival Impossible? And it's all going to revolve around what I believe to be a very fitting goal for this series. I never really had a goal. I had this vague notion of an Earth-like planet that's somewhere up there that I genuinely have zero idea of the location of anymore because it's been so long since I set up this world. I want to build a colony ship that can carry a large complement of people in cryopods. And I want to build it using small grid cryopods because I want to fill them with actual people. Which means they'll be actual people consuming oxygen at the crazy Survival Impossible rates. So I'm going to have to make this thing capable of supplying huge amounts of oxygen for extended periods of time. It's going to have to go long distance. It's going to be combined small and large grid ship. And I'm probably going to build it on the planet because that's where most of my stuff is. Which means cranes and scaffolding and all of the fun engineering around that and trying to figure out how I can get this thing built in such a way that I can launch it from a 1.9G planet. And all of my engineering so far fits really nicely with this goal. I've built up to have huge amounts of iron, which I'm going to need. I've built up to hopefully have a safe path to get the fuel that I'm going to need. And maybe even the ice I'm going to need to convert to oxygen, but I'll probably just take huge tanks of oxygen. But that's the goal. That's where I want this to go. And I think I'm going to be able to build something really, really cool with that. And it'll be something that just, it fits this so well. But even better, upon reaching that goal, it opens up a whole lot of other opportunities for me to continue in this playstyle, but perhaps in completely different settings. So there's all that, and plenty more to come. And I will see you then.